I've seen a lot from the sky. Suicides on rooftops, road rage gone lethal, a naked guy once standing on a billboard outside the Holland Tunnel holding a flare and screaming about the end of the world. But nothing prepared me for what I saw on 9th and 42nd. And worse, what I broadcast to millions of people before anyone understood what the hell was happening. We were 10 minutes into the morning shift. Clear skies, wind from the Hudson, typical gridlock stretching across Midtown. Nothing out of the ordinary. I was sitting in the back of the news chopper, coffee in one hand, mic in the other, rehearsing some half-sarcastic line about Monday madness when dispatch cut in with a heads up. Multi-vehicle wreck, 9th Avenue, just north of Port Authority. Emergency crews en route. I remember groaning. It was my third day in a row covering traffic, and I could already see the script forming in my head. Avoid the west side. Expect delays. Another day in paradise. The usual. But the moment we swept over 42nd Street, I knew something was off. There were 3 vehicles involved, 2 sedans and a yellow cab. One car was T-boned so hard the entire rear axle had snapped and flung halfway into the intersection. Glass glinted like frost across the black top. Steam hissed from a broken radiator. A delivery bike lay crushed beneath one of the bumpers, spokes still spinning. I leaned forward in my harness and adjusted the zoom. People were slumped in their seats. One woman had her face pressed against the airbag, unmoving. 2 men lay sprawled in the middle of the crosswalk, as if they'd been thrown like dolls. A few good Samaritans were already at work, pulling on door handles, waving down the ambulance now crawling up from 10th. I kept the tone neutral as I narrated the same way I always did. We've got a major 3-car collision at 9th and 42nd. Looks like multiple injuries. Westbound lanes are shut down. Avoid the area if you're headed into Midtown. Then something happened that didn't make sense. One of the pedestrians, a man in a blue hoodie, approached the wreck to help. He was waving, yelling something. He reached the cab, leaned inside, and jerked back like he'd touched a live wire. He stumbled, spun, and started screaming. Not the, oh my God kind of scream. The kind that rips out of your chest, like your body knows something your brain hasn't caught up to yet. What the hell? I muttered. My cameraman, Terry, panned to follow the commotion. The man backed into traffic, shaking violently. He was soaked, not in water, in blood, bright red. His hands were up like he'd been bitten. I squinted at the screen. There was someone in the cab. A figure slumped behind the driver's seat, now twitching, moving. They shouldn't have been. I stared harder. Their neck was bent, broken, but they were pushing upright with both hands like a marionette with a few strings cut. Their eyes were open, dead eyes, glassy, staring in 2 different directions. Then came the snap. Their head twisted straight forward. No muscles, no effort, like a gear shifting into place. Then they lunged through the busted window. The Good Samaritan went down hard, a tangle of limbs, screams, flailing. I watched it live as his throat split open and arterial spray painted the cab's rear window. Terry whispered, "Oh, Jesus." Dispatch cut in. "You're live. "You're still alive." I didn't answer. I just kept watching. More emotion now. One of the men in the crosswalk sat up. His face was a crushed mess, one eye hanging low, jaw broken sideways. But he stood, without a groan, no hesitation, just stood. Then the woman in the airbag pulled herself upright, teeth clenched, hissing something wet and hungry. The first EMT reached the scene and never even had a chance to scream. The second was halfway out of the rig when the thing in the crosswalk sprinted at him, full speed. I saw the collision of bodies from above. It looked like a tackle. Then the infected figure began slamming its fists into the EMT's face, repeatedly, bone to bone, until red pooled beneath them. I forgot I was still speaking into the mic. "They're attacking the medics. They're eating them. They're eating them. Jesus Christ." Terry turned the camera away. I turned it back. People were running now, dozens, spilling from sidewalks, from the bus terminal across the street. Cars tried to reverse up 9th, but couldn't move, bumper to bumper. A cab hopped the curb and took out a fire hydrant. Water sprayed skyward as two more infected dragged a cyclist down and began tearing. I scanned the rest of the city. Something was wrong. Something bigger than this scene. To the south, at 34th and 10th, I saw smoke. Another wreck. No movement. To the west, along the Lincoln Tunnel entrance, red taillights stretched for blocks. People were standing on their car roofs, screaming at nothing. Terry was shaking. "I think this is happening everywhere." We circled slowly as dispatch tried to reach us again. Static. Then a voice, choppy, afraid. "Do not return. Repeat, stay in the air. Keep broadcasting. Feed is priority. Everyone needs to see this. Stay up. Stay up. Do not return." I panned east, and then I saw the first one watching us. He was standing on the roof of a Duane Reade at 44th and 8th. Blood slicked across his chest, both arms torn open, and yet he was upright, still. He was looking straight into the sky, straight at me. And he smiled. We flew in silence for nearly a full minute after the man on the roof smiled at us. Terry didn't say a word, neither did I. The city had gone muffled, like someone had dropped a blanket over it all. No sirens, no horns, just rot and smoke and the faint, constant thump of rotor blades. From the air, it didn't look like a zombie apocalypse. Not yet. It looked like confusion. Wrecked taxis half on sidewalks, flashing hazard lights, pockets of people running in different directions. Not away from anything in particular, just away. But the longer we stayed up there, the clearer it got. This wasn't a moment. This was a spread. The dispatcher's voice broke through again, static-laced and panicked. "Live feed's gone national. Stay up as long as possible. Do not attempt to return to base. Do not land anywhere. No confirmed safe zones. All bridges are..." The rest cut out. I didn't need confirmation. I could see it all for myself. We banked south along the Hudson River, low enough to see the gridlock. The West Side Highway was frozen solid. Cars packed in like cattle, some empty, others filled with wide-eyed drivers pounding at their horns. I saw a man trying to drive over the median in a black SUV. He made it 2 feet before his undercarriage caught and stalled out. 5 seconds later, someone jumped on his hood, screaming. Not infected, just desperate. The streets were full of people, but they weren't together. It wasn't a mass panic yet. It was like ants scrambling after someone kicked their hill. Scatter, scatter, regroup, scatter again. I started narrating what I saw. I don't remember half of what I said. Something about blocked exits, smoke near 23rd, police presence in Union Square, a burning city bus left in the middle of 7th Avenue. Every word came out automatic, detached. We flew east over Times Square. Normally, that place is impossible to miss. Bright, loud, gaudy. Not now. It was dark. Every digital billboard was flickering or dead. Smoke rolled through the corridor of towers like fog in a canyon. Someone had crashed a news van into a pretzel cart, and the fire had jumped to a souvenir stand. Flames licked at the glass walls of a Walgreens. I could still see a few survivors inside, pressed to the glass, pounding to get out. And then the pilot gasped. I turned my head and saw the Brooklyn Bridge, gridlocked, not just heavy traffic, entirely stopped. Lanes packed end to end with city buses, delivery trucks, civilians trying to flee Manhattan. At least 24 people were climbing along the outside rails, trying to escape the sea of vehicles. Some fell. I saw a woman leap into the East River and never surface. The pilot muttered something I'll never forget. This city's a fucking coffin. I didn't argue. To the north, Central Park had become an exodus zone. Thousands of people had flooded into it, maybe thinking it was safer than the streets. They were wrong. From up here, it looked like spilled ink. The infected moved in thick, chaotic streaks, surging through trees and crowds like veins of black mold. Pockets of resistance formed around the Bethesda fountain in Sheep Meadow, but I could see them shrinking, blood on the steps. Bystanders dragged away screaming into the underbrush. We pulled up over Columbus Circle. A military convoy had attempted to form a blockade there. 3 Humvees, some hastily deployed barricades, and a line of police tape fluttering in the breeze. I was mid-sentence. Something about the park, the crowds. I don't even remember when the monitor in front of us blinked. Not glitched, not static, replaced. The broadcast went dark for half a second, then a clean blue screen took its place. White text, simple tone, like a corporate HR video. This is a Viraclean civil safety broadcast. Remain calm. Emergency services are en route. Do not attempt to flee. Shelter in place. Further instructions will follow. And just like that, it vanished. We were back to carnage, screaming civilians, devoured police, smoke. I looked at Terry. He hadn't moved. Did you see that? He just nodded slowly. What the hell is Viraclean? I didn't answer. We turned east again toward Lexington Avenue, just as the chopper's warning system lit up. Fuel low. Less than 15 minutes of flight time left. We need to land, the pilot said. We can't stay up forever. Where? I asked. Where the hell do we go? We flew lower, dipping beneath the skyscrapers, hoping to spot a rooftop, a helipad, anything clear. That's when I saw it. A fire escape crowded with people, children, parents, bloodied office workers, climbing toward a rooftop garden near East 79th and 2nd. They were waving at us, screaming. One woman held up a sign, "Please help," in bright red lipstick. Then something dragged her backwards. She disappeared from the frame. We all jumped as the camera feed shook. Terry had zoomed in too far and trembled. He tried to stabilize, but before he could, another figure appeared on the rooftop. A child, alone, covered in blood, head cocked sideways, watching us. That's when the chopper jolted hard. A blur struck the left rotor. A bird, we thought at first. Then the scream came, wet and feral. Something had leapt from a rooftop and grabbed onto our landing strut. The pilot shouted. The bird wasn't a bird, it was a man, mangled, clinging with one arm, biting into the steel frame. Flesh tore from his shoulder as the wind shear ripped at him, but he held on. The chopper tilted. The rotors clipped a building sign. Glass shattered around us. I saw the pilot's eyes go wide as blood sprayed up his neck. He was bitten. We spun. Terry screamed. The camera dropped. I tried to grab the console, the wall, anything. Too late. We slammed into a rooftop parking structure above Lenox Hill Hospital, skidding, metal shearing sparks across the concrete. My head hit the cabin door. Blackness, silence. Then, fire. When I came to, the world was sideways. The cabin door was twisted open. Flames licked the tail of the wrecked chopper. The air smelled like burning plastic, jet fuel, and cooked meat. I couldn't hear anything except the high-pitched whine in my ears, like my brain was trying to scream and couldn't. Terry wasn't moving. His leg had been crushed between the seat and the bulkhead. His eyes were open, but there was no light behind them. The pilot, God. Half his face was gone, peeled away like someone had tried to unzip him from the scalp down, but his hands still twitched. Not spasms, rhythmic movement, fingers tapping at the controls like he was still flying. Like something else had taken over and didn't understand it was already dead. I didn't stay long enough to watch him finish turning. I crawled out through a cracked side panel and collapsed onto the rooftop. The impact had ruptured the helipad's fencing and the corner of a stairwell housing. Concrete dust floated in the air like fallout. For a second, I thought I might just lie there, wait for rescue, wait for silence. Then I heard footsteps, fast, wet, not cautious. I didn't look, I just ran down the stairwell, 4 flights, boots slamming concrete, echoing in the shaft. I tripped once and cracked my elbow on the railing, but the adrenaline kept me upright. I burst through a fire door into a hallway lit only by flickering backup lights. Lenox Hill Hospital was gone. There were papers everywhere, blood smeared on every wall. I passed a gurney knocked on its side, wheels still spinning. A nurse was curled beneath a desk, eyes open, throat opened wider. I followed the green exit signs, sprinting past surgical bays and supply closets, only stopping once I hit the lobby. That's when I saw the first one up close. He was maybe 30, wearing scrubs, mouth open too wide, jaw broken, unhinged, one eye missing, still moving. He didn't groan, didn't growl. He rushed me. No slow stumble, no warning. I barely dodged, slammed into the reception desk and flung a coffee machine at him. It shattered, hot sludge splashing across both of us. He didn't even flinch, but the liquid made the floor slick. He slipped. I bolted through the glass front doors out into the street, East 77th and Lexington. What met me there was worse. Gridlock, not just with cars, with corpses. People were crawling over stalled taxis, some still pulling family members from shattered windshields. Others just stood, confused, crying, or silent, eyes gray and sunken. Someone shouted my name. I didn't turn, couldn't trust what I might see. I moved south, ducking through alleyways, keeping low. My jacket still had the station logo on it. I tore it off and tossed it into the gutter. No one needed to know who I was, not anymore. I tried calling for help. Phone dead, no signal. But that's when I noticed the screens. Everywhere. Shop windows, digital billboards, TVs behind broken glass in darkened diners. My face, my voice. The broadcast was still looping. We've got a major collision at 9th and 42nd. They're attacking the medics. Jesus Christ, they're eating them. I stumbled into a doorway and vomited. The whole city was a reflection now, a mirror of what we showed them. I moved west, hoping for the water. The bridges were lost, but maybe a ferry, a boat, anything. But the closer I got to the East River, the worse it got. The Roosevelt Island tramway had snapped. One of the tram cars hung loose, swinging gently. Below it, dozens of infected gathered, gazing upward like worshippers. I turned and ran toward First Avenue, darting past what used to be a hot dog cart, now overturned, its vendor's apron still clutched in a severed hand. By the time I reached 23rd Street, my legs were giving out. I ducked into an underground parking garage. No power, no doors, but it was dark, and it was empty. Mostly. There was an NY1 news van inside, tipped sideways, windshield shattered, blood smeared across the dash, but the battery light was still blinking. I crawled inside, turned the switch, and the ancient shortwave rig crackled to life, and I spoke. I don't remember everything I said. Maybe I begged. Maybe I warned. Maybe I cried. But I know how I ended it. If you're hearing this, don't come to Manhattan. It's gone. The streets are dead. The sky is empty. The bridges are lost. This isn't traffic anymore. It's extinction. We didn't survive the outbreak. We broadcast it. And then I waited for help, for silence, for whatever came next. If you're still breathing, go ahead and like the video. Subscribe if you dare. There are plenty more nightmares waiting for you. And whatever you do, don't forget to ring the bell. It's the only way you'll hear the warnings in time.